Let me start with this section, which will be a brief introduction of Julia. May I ask you to the participant if he has used previously Julia, or if he's using Julia in his current workflow, so that I know what to say about this.
Since it's public, this you can do as you usually do.
Yeah, he answered in the chat. I've used Julia slightly, mostly as a replacement for Matlab.
Okay. Then yes, I can go in more detail in this section.
It's about the same for me, actually.
With dynamically
Okay.
sized arrays is the addition.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay, I see. So here are the learning outcomes for this course, right? And you will learn how to deal with the packages, Julia, with the environments, and also how to install packages, right, with the PKG tool from Julia. And also, you will learn about the batch script for submitting jobs to the Slurm queue. Also, we will talk about the parallelization tools that Julia offers, and it has several tools, as in the case of Matlab, right? So you can explore this even further because I will cover just the basics. We will also talk about the GPU computing, which is very suitable for Julia. And also we will see something about machine learning jobs in Julia, but I will only touch this part, right? So what is Julia? As you may have noticed already, Julia is a relatively new programming language, but this is in comparison to other languages such as Fortran, C, C++, and even R and Python. And some of them date back to the 70s, for instance, while Julia announced the version 1.0 already in 2018. So it's relatively new, right? And Julia uh, has two ways, yes, to improve the productivity and the performance of the code, right? So in traditional languages, as I mentioned here, C, C++, Fortran, one could achieve a high performance, right? And by high performance, I mean the fast numerical computations. But the productivity was not that good, in the sense that if you wanted to do some fast prototyping, if you wanted to test some feature in your code, then you had to go to the compilation part, for instance, and this creates some overhead, yeah? Because you had to wait until your code compile, right? And especially for long codes, it could take a lot of time, yes? And Julia is trying to be a bridge between these two features, productivity and performance. And these two features created the two-language problem, where, for instance, if you wanted to be in the high-performance end, you had to use one of the high-performance languages that I mentioned previously. But on the other hand, if you wanted to get a high productivity, you had to move to R, Python, or another language, right? And then make a connection between these two codes. So that's why some codes like Python offer libraries that are written in Fortran or C, C++, right? So in order to make the Python code more performant. So it was a two-language problem, and Julia is trying to be the bridge between these two ends, right? A high performance and high productivity. So according to the Julia documentation, there are several features that Julia is offering. And for instance, Julia offers a good and efficient base library. And notice that the functions or the operations are written in Julia itself, right? And as I mentioned previously, in the case of Python, the highly performant libraries are external libraries, which are written most likely in another language than Python. But in Julia, this base library is written in Julia itself. Julia offers a good performance, and it approaches the level of C programs, right? It offers a modular and self-contained approach for libraries, right? So that, for instance, if you create some module or some package in Julia, then you can use the modules of another developer and incorporate that into your code. So it shouldn't cause any issue with the compatibility. It offers a rich language of types, and in Julia, everything is about the types of the variables and the objects. And also, it has a fast-growing community of users and developers. And below, you can find a link for a Slack channel of the Julia community, where you can join if you are interested in this programming language. So, but also, Julia has some shortcomings, and you can imagine one of these shortcomings is that the library's ecosystem is not as rich as in other languages like Python or R. Yeah? And sometimes, right, when you want to do some simulation, yes, because R, yes, and Python are all languages, then you can easily find an existing package that can solve your problem. But in Julia, this is not the case at this moment, so there are not so many packages. Yeah? Although there are many packages, most likely there are more packages in other languages like Python or R, right? Where you can search for your package, and if something exists for you, then you may try this. Currently, for a simple task, I tested this about 1 year ago, yes, and this statement was still valid. So you want to use Julia for simple tasks like opening files, writing some short text, or even use Julia as you would use Linux tools such as AWK or grep, then Julia won't be that efficient as these tools, yes, or even compiled languages. But this is just for short tasks. But if you want to use Julia for something that is more computationally expensive, then you can get a program that is almost fast enough than C, C++, Fortran, or Rust even. Mm. So this is more specific. The previous situation, if you want to perform lightweight task, is more visible, right? If you are running your code in parallel mode. This is one observation that I had previously. So, well, this is also a kind of my personal opinion, yeah? In the sense that if you want to write an initial code for fast prototyping, yes, and compared to Python, you can get easily relatively fast code, right? However, if you want to achieve a performance, yes, similar to other languages and the compiled languages, then you will need to invest more time in learning the language, the Julia language, and especially uh, learning how the types are used in Julia, because the types, as I mentioned previously, are the core of Julia to get a fast or performance code.
Sorry, Pedro,
Yeah.
there was a question.
Yes.
Is that for a single run of a task and short tasks, or does it hold for file reading, writing for longer tasks as well? I have a vague memory of Julia having a funny compilation model, which makes startup slow.
Or let me see. This question is in the.
It's
In
in the Zoom chat. I'm going to move
Okay,
it
let me see.
to
Zoom chat. Okay,
yeah.
let me see. Okay. Well, what I mentioned is, for instance, imagine that you have a for loop, yes, with many iterations, and at each iteration you want to do some lightweight task, like searching for some pattern, right? As you would do in grep or AWK, and you're repeating this operation many times in Julia. This is where you won't get a fast enough program, and then if you use other tools like AWK or grep, then that you will see the difference, because these Linux tools will be faster than Julia. However, if you are doing more computations, or you are doing a heavier task, like for instance, imagine that you open just once a data file, and then you start doing a lot of computation, right? And then you shouldn't get any issue, and then you will get most likely a performant code. So what I mentioned is, if you repeat many times simple operations as you would do with grep or AWK, or yes, this was the point. Here there are some more lines on the documentation pages for Julia at the different centers, and you can explore them. Also here there is a link for extra material if you want to improve your programming skills. And in the next lecture, Bjorn will talk about the basics of how to use Julia on the command line. So key points in this part. Let me see how I am with my time. Okay. Okay, so it's fine. So we have seen that Julia is a relatively new language. Yes, it has several attractive features. And here it has two sides, as always, right? If you don't have the library you need in your simulations. This could be seen as a shortcoming, but also as an opportunity to develop your own code, yes, which would offer both features, high performance and high productivity, without moving out of Julia. And Julia purpose is to avoid this gap, yes, between the performance and productive languages. And yes, this can help you in your workflow. Is there any further question about this?